Japan's role in World War II was shaped by imperial ambition, nationalist ideology, and a desire to dominate Asia. From its initial triumphs across the Pacific to its ultimate devastation in 1945, Japan's involvement in World War II was marked by aggressive expansionism, brutal warfare, and catastrophic consequences for its people and neighbors. The war radically altered Japan's trajectory, transforming it from a militarist empire into a pacifist democracy. Background: Japan before the war. In the decades before World War II, Japan rapidly modernized and industrialized. By the early 20th century, it had defeated both China (1895) and Russia (1905), establishing itself as a major imperial power. Japan's growing nationalism and military influence fueled its desire for expansion, particularly in resource-rich areas of East Asia. The 1930s marked a turning point. In 1931, Japan invaded Manchuria, establishing the puppet state of Manchukuo. In 1937, it launched a full-scale war against China, initiating the Second Sino-Japanese War, which would later merge into the broader conflict of World War II. Japan joins the Axis powers. In 1940, Japan signed the Tripartite Pact with Germany and Italy, forming the Axis powers. This alliance solidified its opposition to the Western powers, especially the United States, Britain, and the Dutch. Japan's leaders believed that controlling Asia's natural resources, especially oil, rubber, and tin, was essential for national survival. However, U.S. sanctions and embargoes, particularly on oil, threatened Japan's economy and war effort, pushing it toward a more aggressive stance. Attack on Pearl Harbor and early victories, 1941 to 1942. On December 7, 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, crippling the U.S. Pacific Fleet and prompting the United States to declare war. Simultaneously, Japanese forces struck across Southeast Asia and the Pacific, capturing Hong Kong, Malaya and Singapore, the Philippines, Dutch East Indies, Indonesia, Burma, Myanmar. These swift victories shocked the world and established Japan as the dominant power in Asia and the Pacific. The Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere. Japan promoted its conquest under the banner of the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere, claiming to liberate Asia from Western colonial rule. In practice, however, Japanese occupation was brutal. Atrocities were widespread, including the Nanjing Massacre, 1937-38, where hundreds of thousands of Chinese civilians were murdered. The use of comfort women and girls forced into sexual slavery. Forced labor and harsh repression throughout occupied territories. These policies fueled resistance movements and alienated local populations, undermining Japan's claims of Asian unity. Turning of the tide, 1942 to 1944. The tide began to turn after the Battle of Midway in June 1942, when U.S. forces sank 4 Japanese aircraft carriers. This decisive naval battle marked the beginning of Japan's retreat. Over the next 2 years, the Allies launched an island-hopping campaign across the Pacific, recapturing territory and bringing the war closer to Japan itself. Key battles included Guadalcanal, 1942-43, Leyte Gulf, 1944, the largest naval battle in history, Iwo Jima and Okinawa, 1945, fierce and costly battles that demonstrated Japan's unwillingness to surrender, total war and civilian suffering. As defeat loomed, Japan mobilized all resources for total war. Cities were bombed, resources dwindled, and civilians faced food shortages and air raids. In 1945, U.S. forces launched a devastating bombing campaign including firebombing of Tokyo, March 1945, killing over 100,000 civilians in a single night. Atomic bombings of Hiroshima, August 6, and Nagasaki, August 9, which killed over 200,000 people, many instantly. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union declared war on Japan on August 8, invading Japanese-held Manchuria and Korea. Surrender and occupation. On August 15, 1945, Emperor Hirohito announced Japan's unconditional surrender. The formal surrender was signed on September 2, 1945, aboard the USS Missouri, ending World War II. Japan was occupied by Allied forces, led by General Douglas MacArthur, until 1952. During this time, the Japanese military was dismantled. A new democratic constitution was enacted in 1947, renouncing war as a sovereign right. War crimes trials were held, including the Tokyo trials, which prosecuted Japanese leaders for atrocities. Legacy of World War II in Japan. World War II left deep scars on Japan. 2.5 to 3 million Japanese deaths, both military and civilian. Mass destruction of infrastructure in cities. Profound psychological trauma from the bombings and defeat. Yet, the post-war era also saw a remarkable transformation. With U.S. support, Japan rebuilt its economy and became a peaceful, prosperous democracy. Its wartime experiences shaped a strong pacifist identity that endures in Japanese society and foreign policy today.